Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast, your one-stop shop for television, movie, video games, comic books, book reviews, and more. Now, without further ado, here's Steven and Mike.
It is our special Star Wars Podcast Day episode. Welcome to the Two Geeks and a Microphone show. I am your co-host, Mr. Stephen Boster, along with the man himself, Mr. Mike Shanks. Mike, say hey to everybody.
Good morning to all you geeks out there in Geekdom land. You know, Stephen, you picked the little 30-second, I don't know what we call that, the little intro.
That little intro.
And I get so caught up in the funky music that I forget things.
Oh, that's all right. Yeah, we were a little slow on our audio samples there. Who talks first? You talk first? Oh, my goodness. Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. If you are on Twitch, Facebook, or YouTube, feel free to put into the chat some fun stuff in the chat. We'd love to say hey as we're talking along here. We are in the midst of Book of Boba Fett series is going on Disney Plus. We've been doing our weekly episodes. We kind of do those as bonus episodes because, well, Mike's a big Boba Fett fan. No. In all fairness, this series is fantastic.
Oh,
absolutely fantastic. Each episode is better than the first. And this most recent episode, episode 6, was
the book of Luke Skywalker or Grogu.
Right. I saw someone post a meme. Breaking news: Boba Fett to cameo in the Book of Boba Fett series.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Oh goodness, because the last 2 episodes have been really Mandalorian. The themes that were coming up in the Mandalorian are have continued, but I think it is in service to the Book of Boba Fett.
Oh, I agree. It is. It's definitely in service to Book of Boba Fett. It's just that episode 5 was jarring only in the aspect of, wait a minute, where's Boba Fett? He's the star of the show, and he didn't even make an appearance in the show whatsoever, in that episode whatsoever. So it was slightly jarring. But, I mean, it was a great episode. I loved it.
I thought it was a good episode to transition because they want to get the Mandalorian for the big end fight,
right?
Big end fight sequence, excuse me, and it gave us the opportunity to see the transition of where he's been to now when we'll see him for the fight and stuff. So
and then we had episode 6,
oh my God,
which I mean, oh gosh, it was an awesome episode. But again, Boba Fett wasn't. He was barely in it. He was in it. He was barely in it though. But it was a little more prevalent on Luke Skywalker and Grogu. So I almost want to call it Book of Luke Skywalker or Book of Grogu. Right.
So what are we going to talk about today? It is National Star Wars Podcast Day, or I guess I keep saying national, but it's Star Wars Podcast Day.
I guess it's national. I don't know. It's Star Wars Podcast Day. Star Wars Podcast. We are recording on February. What is today? I don't even know what today is.
Today's the 5th. Today's the 5th, February 5th. We're recording.
We're recording on February 5th, but this episode will launch on February 7th, the recording of this, the audio version of this. The
audio
episode.
Version will.
And that is actually Star Wars Podcast Day. We chose as a topic, since Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian are hot right now, I decided I wanted to talk about Jango Fett today. Give Boba's dad a little bit of love,
Well, it was brilliant on your part when we were talking about this last week, and you talked about bringing up Jango Fett. I thought, I don't know a whole lot about him other than what we had in the movie,
right?
And I was I thought this will be really good because this will give us insight into Boba Fett himself.
Yeah.
Who his dad was, because Boba Fett was the unaltered clone, right?
Correct.
Or not totally unaltered?
No, he's totally unaltered. Yeah.
Okay.
They did not speed up his aging and nothing. There was nothing that was applied to him. So he is a straight clone from Jango Fett, which is why Tamara Morrison is now playing Boba Fett because he originally played Jango Fett in Episode 2, Attack of the Clones.
Right. Well, I thought it was a great idea because it gives us into, it goes back to the old psychological discussion, nature versus nurture. What is it that's innate within us versus, nature versus nurture? What is the surrounding environment and how does it influence who we are as personality? What's the balance between the two? And I thought, ooh, what a fascinating topic for Jango Fett to help us get what's the nature side of him that he got, Boba Fett got from his dad, but his dad also nurtured him as well.
Yep.
And so I'm looking forward to this. Now you gave me homework, which everybody, I have to admit, I apologize. I only got half of my homework done. I watched the Star Wars Theory discussion on Jango Fett, which was from a year ago. And in which he references and says, hey, you need to read this comic book series. Now, I have it under my Marvel Unlimited to read. I just didn't get to it this week. And I'm so sorry, everybody. And Mike, I'm publicly apologizing. I'm so sorry I didn't get to it.
That's all right. Well, the comic book is Jango Fett. Oh, my gosh. Now I'm going to blank on the name of it.
The penguin has fallen off the iceberg.
Shoot, what was the name of it? I thought I was ready for this.
You're ready for this. We're just having a great time, talking and having a conversation. If I go to my Marvel Unlimited app,
I was going to Comixology.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
So on my library,
Open Seasons.
It's I got you. Beat me to it. Open season. So, here's my everybody. If you can see that, nope, that's all too fuzzy. And also, there's the Age of Republic Jango Fett. There's a one issue in 2019, which I was looking forward to reading, and I still am. And then the 4-issue series of Jango Fett Open Seasons.
Now, does your app tell you what year that comic came out?
It does. 2002.
2002.
So 20 years ago.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it is 20 years ago. Oh, my God.
Now, is that considered... That's considered Legends today, right?
Yeah, that would be considered Legends.
Okay.
In my headcanon, though, I'm looking at this. This is Django's origin. Because, there's some discussion on whether Django is actually a Mandalorian or not, and therefore whether Boba Fett is a Mandalorian. Because it came up several years ago in the Clone Wars when we had the Prime Minister or whatever. Obi-Wan approaches the Prime Minister and says, I recently encountered a bounty hunter named Jango Fett who wore the armor of the Mandalorians. And the Prime Minister is like, yeah, I know who this Jango Fett is, and he is not a Mandalorian. And I, as a Fett fan, was furious. I'm like, what do you mean,
you
Django?
Were offended?
Yes. Highly offended. I'm like, what do you mean Django's not a Mandalorian? Are you freaking kidding me? And George Lucas had said in interviews, nope, Django and Boba are not Mandalorians. And Dave Filoni backed that up. Of course, Dave Filoni had to back it up. I mean, he was working for George Lucas at the time. But now, fast forward to Book of Boba Fett, actually fast forward to Mandalorian. And in The Mandalorian, Boba Fett is introduced, and he gets his armor back, and he brings up the chain code thing on his wrist thingy, and I still don't understand that scene. I don't get that. This is my father, Jango Fett, and therefore blah 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 blah. He's a Mandalorian.
Right.
It's like, huh? How does that prove anything? I don't quite understand. I'll accept.
It's kind of like Catholic priests. Catholic priests have what they call lines of succession. And it's like saying, hey, I was ordained by this bishop who was ordained by this bishop who was ordained by this bishop. And it goes all the way back to, some claim to go all the way back to Peter or, those kinds of things. And who knows? But it's the concept of I am from a lineage and this is my lineage of and so I'm legit because I got this, if that makes sense.
Well, I always thought Boba Fett was legit, but I still don't understand his whole little chain code thing. It's just, I don't know. That's wow.
Those are just his lines of succession.
Sure. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's a better explanation. You gave a better explanation than anything I've gotten to this point. So I'll accept it. I'll accept it. It's just weird. That's all. It's like, what the heck does this mean, dude?
Right.
But so no, I wanted to delve into Jango Fett and his origin because. Now another thing, I think I told you that when season 1 we weren't doing our podcast yet, and I think we had discussed the fact that Mando's they basically stole Jango Fett's or his origin story and applied it to Din Djarin, because we discovered that Din Djarin was an orphan, and he was saved by Death Watch, actually, and then through that he becomes one of their foundlings. Django is almost the exact same origin. It's almost exactly. There's some slight differences, but same thing. Django becomes orphaned. He is rescued by Mandalorians. Now, he's not rescued by Death Watch because Death Watch is fighting against the Mandos that rescue Django.
And then we'll get more into that in a little bit. I mean, you'll explain that more in a little bit. But
then Django becomes a foundling.
Djarin is a very similar story.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's they just pretty much said, okay, I'm going to take this part of Django's origin, and I'm going to apply it to this Mandalorian. Is pretty much what they did. It was cut and paste, But that was now in Din Djarin's case in the Mandalorian. That was a different. What did Bo-Katan call it? Zealots. There was kind of a zealots section of the Mandalorian code, kind of a thing. No. Okay, I'm confused. I'm really confused of where. You're talking about the whole creed and the not taking off your helmet and all that stuff, right? Yes, Bo-Katan said you guys are zealots and you're crazy, pretty much. Now, which I find really weird because Bo-Katan is more or less part of Death Watch. She followed Death Watch, and the Mandos that take in Din Djarin, they're Death Watch. So the armorer and what's his face, the big Mando,
the Jon Favreau one,
Jon
Vizsla.
Favreau.
The Vizsla, I can't remember which Vizsla he was. There's so many Vizslas. I'm so confused.
Oh,
and we get into this,
and we're gonna.
I was even more confused.
We're gonna get even more into Vizsla, so it plays into Django too.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of what his name is. Anyhow, their sect derives from Death Watch. So I don't know. I don't understand where the separation of this whole not wearing the helmet thing came from. Because Death Watch, they took their freaking helmets off all the time. Bo-Katan took hers off, and all the Death Watch.
Maybe it was the zealots of a Death Watch.
I don't know. What I'm saying? I don't get it. It is so
Right.
confusing. Mandalorian history is very freaking confusing, and I don't quite understand all of it.
You gotta admit, it's fascinating. There's a lot of lore for Mandalore.
Oh my god, yeah, that was good. Good play. Good play on words there. So, yeah. So we essentially, if you follow the Clone Wars really only showed 2 lines of Mandalorians. We had, well, I guess technically there were 3, because you have the peaceful Mandalorians, which is known as the New Mandalorians, and they're the pacifists.
Okay.
That would be
which seems so funny for Mandalore.
Well, right,
passive
right.
Mandalorians.
Well, and see, that's very recent. Well, in Clone Wars, that was very recent history, and they were basically trying to change the idea of being a Mandalorian, because Mandalorian was all about being a warrior, and the pacifists wanted to do away with that. They wanted to do away with their past of being these. Just
and forge a new future.
Right.
Yes.
Exactly. I personally do not like that. I want my Mandalorians to be warriors. That's
Yet Mike was offended again.
It's like, how do you have a Mandalorian that's a pacifist? That doesn't even make sense. I love how Din Djarin walks around going, what are you talking about? Weapons are part of my religion.
Yeah.
That's my Mandalorian right there. Weapons are part of my religion. I love it.
Hashtag my Mandalorian.
That's right. My Mandalorian. So yeah, essentially you have the pacifists, which are considered the new Mandalorians. You have Death Watch. And then you have where Django came from, according to the comic book series. They're called the true Mandalorians, because they wanted to separate themselves from those other 2 factions. They didn't believe in what those other 2 believed in. They would prefer to be the warriors. Granted, Death Watch wants to be warriors too, but I think with the true Mandalorians, you had more of an honor code. Is what they which I think plays into Jango Fett. And I believe that plays into Boba Fett a lot too. The whole honor code. Now, Star Wars Theory, he said basically that honor code was called the Super Commando code, which I believe I have the books, but I've only read the first of the books, and yeah, I should get to reading those, but I've got so many books on my list, it's not even funny. And I've actually had those books since they were introduced. But the Commando series by Karen Travis, which we've had.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we've had Karen on before.
We've had Karen on the show. Right,
yes.
right. Go listen to that. It's really interesting. We don't talk Star Wars, but we do talk about writing and stuff like that, which was good.
No, she flat out told me I don't talk about Star Wars.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And we respected it. We
did, and it was a great conversation.
I really did want to talk to her about Star Wars, but
I know you did. I know
it's
okay.
I was bummed when she said one rule: no Star Wars. I was like, "Are you kidding me?"
Right.
That's pretty much why I contacted you. But hey, we played by our rules, so
right. Mm-hmm.
But anyway,
okay, so now. Yeah, anyway, sorry about that. So Super Commando code.
Right. Which, if I remember right, that plays into her books. And that is the code that went from Django through all the clones. So, and I believe to this day that Boba still resides by that code. That is the Mandalorian code per se. Mm-hmm. And I think that was part of the reason that Karen left the series, because she didn't write the final book in the series. She quit because George Lucas did not go by her books in the Clone Wars cartoon series. There were there were some things that he did that contradicted what she wrote, and she didn't like that and got upset and quit. Now, you can take that for whatever you want, you know. I mean,
right.
on one sense, George Lucas is the creator. You know, it is his creation.
Now, do you know if that was the issue for a fact?
That's what I've read. That's, you know, again, that's what I wanted Karen to tell us.
Right. We wanted to get her perspective.
I wanted her perspective on what happened is what I really wanted to talk about. And yeah, she didn't want to talk about that. So
that's all right. I know she's got a huge blog on her website where she does discuss some of these things. And I didn't think to go back and read that to remember.
Yeah.
But anyway, go ahead. Super Commando code. And then we see that and then it gets passed on. So now we're getting into the realm of, okay, now wait a minute. Who is Jango Fett? Who is he?
Okay.
Because all I know is he's the dude that gave the DNA for the clones, and he was really cool. But he got Boba Fetted. I can't say that anymore because Boba Fett lives. But he got, you know, Samuel L. Jackson with his purple lightsaber. You know, just whoop.
Yeah, you know,
him out. And I was like,
Tamara and Ming Wan Yen.
Ming Wan Yen.
They've been doing promotion junkets for Book of Boba Fett. And they recently did this one where there's an app that it says find out which Star Wars villain you are. So Ming-Hua and Tamara both take the quiz on air. Okay. It's hilarious too, right? So one of the questions is, what's your favorite Star Wars movie? And Tamara Morrison's like, well, Attack of the Clones isn't on here. So it would be Attack of the Clones. He's like, except I never got to see the end of the movie because I got my head chopped off. But
you're right.
So I don't remember which movie he ended up choosing. But anyway, and then another question is, if you had a lightsaber, what color would you choose? Tomorrow's like, definitely not purple. I don't like that lightsaber. I think he chose green, and I think Ming-Hua chose orange, if I remember right. But anyway,
Ming-Na win.
Ming-Na win. Yeah. But Ming-Na chose orange. And then I don't remember all the other questions, but when it came down to it, revealing what villains they were, Ming-Na was Darth Maul, and Tamara Morrison was Fennec Shan.
That's funny.
It was hilarious. And she's like, no, you're just saying it. He goes, no, and he showed the app. And he's like, nope, see right here. It says Fennec Shan. You are Fennec Shan.
That's funny.
It was great.
That's funny.
Good. That was a great moment. I loved it. So anyway, getting back to our discussion.
We're 24 minutes in and we haven't even started Django's story.
It's okay. So if you go back to the comic open seasons, you have two factions of Mandos fighting. You have the new Mandalorians, which is led by, oh gosh, what was his name? Shoot. I don't know where my notes went to. Goodness. Starts with a J. Jeez.
Are you talking about? What are you talking about now?
Jaster.
Oh, Jaster. Okay. Mm-hmm. Is it Jaster or was it Jasker?
No, Jaster.
Jaster. Okay.
Yes, it is Jaster. And
okay.
Sorry. So yeah, the new Mandalorians are led by Jaster Muriel.
We'll just keep saying Jaster.
Yeah.
Now,
Jaster.
wait, you said earlier, though, that the new Mandalorians, these were the ones who were, They were the ones who were trying to bring back the heritage of Mandalore, right?
Right.
Okay.
And they're fighting with
Vizsla.
Right.
Against Vizsla and Death Watch, right?
Death Watch, right, yes. And
Okay.
and Vizsla. Because their leader is, now get this, is Tar Vizsla.
Okay. Everybody, you better start taking notes.
Yeah, this is where it gets real freaking confusing. And we learn in Mandalorian that the Mandalore, who is a Jedi crossed with a Mandalorian, he is Tor Vizsla.
Tor Vizsla, right. And that was, 1,000 years ago?
Right, that was like 1,000 years ago. But now...
Right, and he was the guy who created the Darksaber.
Right. He built the Darksaber. Now, the Darksaber doesn't come to play into this comic series. I'm just assuming they hadn't thought of the Darksaber until Clone Wars. That's just my guess. But so this is Tor Vizsla, and Tor Vizsla he leads Death Watch.
No, this is Tar Vizsla.
Or yeah, Tar Vizsla. Sorry. See, I told you I'm going to get these confused.
That's why I'm taking notes.
So Vizsla...
Right.
Because eventually all they call him is Vizsla. They just call him Vizsla.
Right.
So Vizsla heads up Death Watch. And Death Watch and the new Mandalorians fight each other. Well, at one point, Death Watch kind of sets up this whole scenario where new Mandalorians are... They think they're running this mission, and it's all set up by Death Watch. And it takes them to...
It's a trap.
Right, exactly. That's exactly it. It's a trap. It takes them to the Fett's homeworld, where the Fetts live, where their family lives, where Jango's father, his mother, and we find out Jango actually has a sister. Did not know that at all.
You're right.
So it takes us to them. They're actually farmers. And now, Jango's father has fought in wars, though. And he's fought with the new Mandalorians. And he actually has fought alongside Jaster Morrell, who leads the new Mandalorians.
Now, he is called Jaster is the Mandalore. So the rightful ruler of the Mandalorians.
Which is what Tor.
Tor is the Jedi.
Right. Which is what they call Tor Vizsla, the Mandalore. They call him the Mandalore.
Okay.
So that's where these two kind of collide. There's a little difference between these two stories.
Okay.
So anyway, Jango's father tries to hide the new Mandalorians from Death Watch and Vizsla.
Mm-hmm.
And Vizsla comes across Jango Fett as a boy. So we see him about the same age we see Boba Fett in Attack of the Clones. Okay. And he threatens Jango. He's like, where are these people at? If you don't tell me, I'm going to kill your entire family and all this stuff.
Right.
And they do end up killing both Jango's mother and father, which orphans Jango then.
Okay.
And they actually kidnap. They allude that they kill the sister, but they actually end up taking the sister. They kidnap her. And then we learn...
Death Watch does.
Right, Death Watch does. Now, according to Star Wars Theory, she actually becomes a member of Death Watch later, which I would love to see that come back into play. Mm-hmm. I would love for, Boba to find out he's got an aunt who is a part of Death Watch.
It's the Armorer.
Oh, crap. That would be so freaking awesome.
That would be cool.
Oh, my gosh. Cool. I didn't even think about that. How cool would that be if she was his aunt? Oh, my gosh. Wow. Boom. That just blows my mind.
Right?
Oh, wow. That would be so neat. Because then, man, that would put them two at total odds at this point. Wow, mind blowing.
If she became a member of Death Watch, who's not to say that she became more of a,
well, now
zealot.
she's not a member of Death Watch, but the way they talk, whatever faction they are, because they don't really give a name of what their faction is, but they say they claim that they derive from Death Watch. So.
Everyone, you heard it here first on Two Geeks and a Microphone. Mike and Steven have predicted that the armorer is Boba Fett's long lost sister, or Jango Fett's long lost sister.
Right.
Okay.
Or Boba Fett's aunt.
I should be dead by then because because Boba Fett's much older.
Well,
he's much more older.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, so, but she's probably she probably would be dead. I don't know. That could bring in some.
That would have been fun, though.
Yeah,
okay, we just had a good time.
All right, yeah. I don't know. Maybe
our own head here.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess the armor couldn't. The timeline wouldn't work out, but that would have been fun. That would have been so much fun. Dang. Yeah. I kind of wish they were aliens now, so they could have a longer lifespan. So anyway. Death Watch ends up torching the fields of the farm of the Fett's farms, trying to take out the new Mandalorians and Jaster.
Okay.
And of course, Jaster escapes and he saves Jango Fett. So Jango Fett is now at this point a foundling.
He's a ward of the state. No, I'm just kidding. He's a foundling. Yes.
Well, no, because the new Mandalorians are taking him in. So they're taking him in as a Mandalorian, which is exactly what happens to Din Djarin.
That's right.
Now Din Djarin, I think it was in the Mandalorian Civil War, is when that happens. I think, and because we see all the droids and stuff, which is why Mando hates droids. I mean, at least up until these last couple episodes of Boba Fett, because we see that he's a little more kind to droids in these last couple episodes. But they established that in episode 1 of Mandalorian, like when the speeder comes to take him away, like a taxi, and it's piloted by a droid, and he's like, no droids, I don't do droids. So I think Mando's come a long way, since then. But yeah, so it's almost the exact same origin. It's like they just cut and paste, cut it from Django, paste it to Mando.
But in all openness, wouldn't that not be a major theme within Mandalore itself? We take in these younglings, these orphans, and we make them.
Yeah, I think it has become a major theme, especially now with Din Djarin and Grogu. So yeah, I think it has become a major theme, and now, of course, we're learning. We're going back and learning from this comic book that Django basically has the same origin too. So yeah, I would say that's but now, see, that's the thing. George Lucas was like, no, Django and Boba are not Mandalorians. Now, okay, by bloodline, yes, you're right. They're not Mandalorians, but they're foundlings, which is what Din Djarin is. So I've always had it in the back of my head ever since The Mandalorian. I'm like, well, why in the heck would you say that Django and Boba are not Mandalorian then? Because then the Mandalorian isn't a Mandalorian, So in my head, they're all Mandalorians, no matter what.
Headcanon rules. Now, just for the record, that is spelled Canon, not Cannon.
Okay.
I knew a guy that was he made a book. He printed a book. He self-published, and he put all these Christian canons and Canon. Into a book, and so people could read or whatever. And when it finally got published, he missed on the front cover. It was rather than being Canon, it was Cannon.
Wow.
It's like, well, at least that was a small print run.
So I guess on the next print, he had it corrected then.
He had it corrected,
Okay.
yes.
Yeah. So it wasn't like a wartime canon.
Right. And that's what I'm saying. Our head canon is Canon.
Good distinction there. Good distinction.
Yep.
I never even really thought about that. That's funny.
I will say this, though. I do like what you're saying. It's really good insight that realistically, based upon what we're, they are Mandalorians.
Right.
I like how you explain that because they're foundlings. They get taken into the culture and you become Mandalorian.
Right.
So, and I'm not one to say George Lucas is wrong.
It's his creation. It is his creation.
It's his creation, but in essence, it is being passed on to those who he has. In Dave Filoni, let me rephrase that. I almost said, he's passed on it, to these people, but really,
Dave Filoni was his Padawan.
But his like that, yeah. Dave Filoni was his Padawan, So yes.
And
Dave Filoni's getting a great opportunity to do his storytelling as well.
Right.
Taking
now
that
Dave
universe.
Filoni is becoming the master. Yeah.
Now those who are fans of The Wheel of Time, you have the original author who was Robert Jordan.
Yep. Who
passed away, and his partner been with him for years, served as his editor and stuff. When Brandon Sanderson wrote a nice eulogy, she loved it, and so she said, "This is the guy who could continue the story." And so she became, Brandon Sanderson became the finisher of the series, and he got to write. Now he had all the notes and canon from Robert Jordan's work and from all his world building notes.
Right.
And so he built it, but he still kind of made it his own in his own style. I think Dave Filoni's doing the same thing.
I agree with you. Totally. The only difference is Dave still has George around and yeah. So George can pop in and go, no, that's not right, Dave. Yeah. your cowboy hat's on too tight.
Right. Well, so good to be dead.
But Dave can go, yeah, George, you're not running things anymore. Me and Favreau are.
That's right.
Although I don't see John saying that to George. I see John going, "Yes, sir. Yes, sir." That's what I see John and Dave doing to George.
I will say this though, with Book of Boba Fett, we are seeing Dave Filoni come out of that shell and into his own. I mean, let me rephrase. He's been behind the scenes, but now we're beginning to see him really take a hold of the mantle that he's been given.
Oh yeah, I think Dave Filoni's shining all over the place.
Yeah,
like this.
I mean, I've heard some people call it the Filoni verse.
Well, now I would call it the Filoni Favreau verse because
now I would because they are working together and doing a fabulous job together.
Well, they've been working together this whole time for both Book of Boba Fett and for Mandalorian.
Well, Mandalorian started with Mandalorian, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's the creative genius of the two of them, and I think their fandom plays a lot in the role too, because the two of them are true fans of Star Wars. They're not just guys that came in and said, "Oh, I can get a great big paycheck out of this." I mean, I'm sure there's.
Excuse me.
What'd you say?
J.J. Abrams.
Yeah. J.J. Abrams and what's his face? The one that did the second one.
Mm-hmm.
I can't think of his name.
It's okay.
That's okay. Partially because I pushed the penguin off on that one. I went, oh look, a whale's coming by. Ugh!
Yeah, it was Ryan Johnson, but anyway.
Yeah. Oh, Ruin Johnson. Yes, that's the one. Ruin Johnson.
Be nice. He probably had parameters he had to deal with.
Yeah, he ruined Star Wars, so ruined Johnson.
All right, back to Jango Fett.
So Jango Fett becomes a foundling with the Mandalorians underneath Jaster Mariel.
Mm-hmm.
And then he becomes a great warrior under Jaster. And in fact, eventually, the leader of Death Watch, the Vizsla, ends up killing Jaster, which essentially, if you think about it, that orphans Django again. He's been orphaned a second time now. It just hit
nice
me.
Insight.
Yeah, it just hit me. I was like, dang, he's been orphaned twice because his real father got taken out, and his mother, and now his, for lack of better terms, adopted father has now been taken out. So Django ends up basically leading the new Mandalorians from this point out, and he becomes the leader, and that's where he really begins to shine and becomes the warrior that we know him as, because eventually he becomes this great bounty hunter. Because there is a point where,
because he gets kind of tired of the whole Mandalorian ways.
Well, no, it's not that he got tired. It's he actually got captured. So there's a point where his path crosses with Count Dooku. And this is actually like 10 years before the Battle of Geonosis. So Count Dooku is sent in with other Jedi to try and destroy the new Mandalorians. Django actually kills 5 of those Jedi himself.
He does it barehanded, doesn't he?
He does it barehanded. Which,
dude,
that speaks volumes. Volumes of who Jango Fett is. And okay, go back to our last episode of Book about Boba Fett.
Okay.
And we have Cad Bane show up. And what does Cad Bane tell him? Cad Bane tells them Boba Fett is a cold-hearted killer who worked for the Empire. So now we go back to this scene with Django, and he's fighting the Jedi, and he takes 5 of them out with his bare hands. That speaks volumes. I mean, that just shows you how badass Jango Fett is. And I don't think we've ever had that really established.
Right. Well, so how he got chosen too. I mean, that's the connection. Count Dooku, right? I guess I assume tells Sifo Dyas, and Sifo Dyas.
Actually, Sifo Dyas never comes into mention in the story at all, not once.
Well, right, but I just mean from the. Well, this is also
no. He goes to the Emperor. He goes to Palpatine because he's like after all this happens, they're looking for the genetic code to use to create the clone army. And he's like, I think we got our man. I think I found our man. Because Django takes out 5 of the Jedi, and I don't remember how many Jedi there were. But then the Jedi take out all of the new Mandalorians except for Django. Django's the only one left. And then they actually sell him into slavery. So, yeah, Django is sold into slavery at that point. And then there's a point where Django escapes that. And that's when he goes and steals the armor that we know well, the silver and blue armor that we know of.
Okay.
Now, that's where I get confused. Because they claim that Django's armor is not Beskar. His armor is Durasteel, which is not as strong as Beskar. But what I don't understand is Django steals it from the Mandalorians. So if he steals his armor from the Mandalorians, why is it not Beskar? That's something I don't get. That's a connection I don't understand at all. But he steals it from them. So that's how, and which does back up what the Prime Minister says, because the Prime Minister's like, I don't know how he got that armor. He stole it or something. And the Prime Minister knows he stole it.
Right.
He's just playing stupid, but he knows that Django stole that armor, and he stole it from the Mandalorians. But that doesn't make him any less of a Mandalorian. If anything, I think this story really backs up that he's more Mandalorian than a lot of them are, just by his badassery and the fact that he's a foundling. So then at that point, that's when, because it's several years after, he spends several years in slavery, he escapes, and when he escapes, Count Dooku finds out he escaped. Count Dooku has no idea how, but finds it out and is like, that's our man. That's who we want. And so then he confronts Django and then actually tells Django that he was one of the Jedi that came after them. So I love this too. Django poisons him. He poisons Count Dooku. And he's like, you have a couple hours to live. And Count Dooku's like, at first he plays along with it. And then he's like, no, it's not going to work because I used the midichlorians to counteract the poison. Right. And he's like, so, and then Django's pretty impressed with that. Oh, and Django also does the trick that he uses in Attack of the Clones, which I absolutely love, where he basically levitates his blasters into his hands. And Dooku doesn't know how he does it. And Dooku's like, that's impressive. I didn't know you had Jedi skills. And he goes, it's not Jedi skills, it's electromagnets. It's like, I have electromagnets in my gloves, which it's great. It's awesome. It's like, oh, that is so cool. I love it. But Dooku's impressed with it. He's like, that's ingenuity there. I like that. And that was one of the things that made him pick Django as the genetic code for the clones. And hence, we have Jango Fett and the Clone Army.
Yep.
So, and then...
Now,
go ahead.
Real quick, when you had stated that whole thing about him being picked and how, taking out 5 Jedi just barehanded, kind of a thing, it brought back to mind, Order 66.
Yep.
And why the clones were able to overpower the Jedi. Now, not as a whole, the Jedi as a whole, but as, they had, I thought it was brilliant on the Empire's part to separate all the Jedi. So there really only maybe 1 or 2 together, but yet with these kinds of clones who come from Jango Fett, who's able to defeat 5 barehanded, and they're coming from that genetic makeup, why they were able to take over those Jedi so quickly.
Yep. And that's something they should have highlighted more in the films too. Because, you only get that from these comic books. You're absolutely right. That makes the Clone Army that much more better. I got it in again. Drink. Take a drink.
We're both drinking, everybody. Every time we say much more better.
So, but that also plays into Boba Fett, because now at this point, Django informs Dooku, because Dooku's paying him tons of money to do this, and then he wants him to go live on Commando, where the Commonians can not only draw the genetics that they need from Django, but that he's basically there to oversee the entire operation, oversee that the clones are being trained correctly, which I really find interesting, because now this plays into a newer comic book, which is just Jango Fett, which is a canon comic book, by the way, that is in Disney canon right now.
Age of Republic.
Yeah, Age of Republic. Age of the Republic. There's a point where the Commonians, they say to him, you should be very proud of your army. And he's like, why should I be proud? these guys are cannon fodder. That's all they are. You know, he's basically like, you guys are using these guys.
He knows.
Yeah, he knows.
That's interesting. Yeah.
But he's getting paid a buttload of money. And yet he's still taking bounty jobs too. He's taking bounty jobs on the side. Hence,
do you think that's why Boba Fett said at the end of the fourth episode or whichever, you know, I got plenty of credits.
I think that's part of it. I think he does have
he's inherited his dad's fortune from being the.
And then, of course, Boba Fett became the greatest bounty hunter in the galaxy. And Boba Fett, I think, has amassed his own fortune. And then, not to mention, whatever he gained when he took over the throne of Jabba the Hutt. Because there was money there, too. So, when he says, trust me, I have plenty of credits, he ain't joking. The man is rich. If you take all three of those aspects...
What's your superpower?
I'm rich. Yeah, exactly. And I never really thought about Boba having. Well, I did, because in the what is the name of it? Legacy of the Force series, which is like a 10-book series, and I'm 4 books in on that one. Need to get back on it. Django takes a major part. Oh, Karen Travis was one of the artists. No, it's a 9-book series because it's 3 trilogies. And it's like 3 different authors write the first trilogy, and then those same 3 write the second 3, and then the same 3 write the third 3. And they take one book from each trilogy is how they do it.
Okay.
Karen Travis was involved in that too, so that was before the Republic Commando stuff.
Okay.
And she writes a lot about Boba Fett in that, which makes sense because she was writing the Republic Commandos, which is the clones, which all come from Boba Fett. You know, it all ties together. In that, Boba Fett he's rich too. He's got lots of money because they talk about the fact that he has so much money, he really doesn't need to be a bounty hunter anymore. So, So when they say he's rich, they're not kidding. He's rich. He's got money, and it's very believable when you follow those storylines, all of those storylines.
Yep.
So makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, the Jango Fett fortune.
But
yes.
So did you read the Age of the Republic issue?
No.
Okay.
No, I didn't get to reading. So yeah.
So Django is sent on a job, and he brings Boba with him.
Okay.
And the bounty they're going after, she tries to kill herself. She like jumps off this building or something. Django swoops up and catches her. He's using the jetpack, which is fantastic. And she thanks him. Doesn't realize he's like, no, I'm with them and you're going with us. So he knocks her unconscious and everything. And then they're mad because basically he's the one that gets the bounty, you know. And so they try to take Boba so they could get more of the bounty because they're trying, you know. And this is all a test. The whole thing is a test from Django to Boba Fett to see how Boba Fett will handle himself. And Boba ends up taking out 3 of those guys. And then there's one left. And the one, he's like, no. I tried to tell them not to go after you and everything. And then Django says to Boba, you need to make the decision whether you take him out or not. And Boba takes him out. Right.
Ooh.
Again, we go back to Book of Boba Fett. We go back to Cad Bane, and Cad Bane says Boba Fett is a cold-hearted killer. This solidifies he's still a little boy. He's still 12 years old. This is Attack of the Clones timeline. And he kills that kid. Because he was like, nope. My dad wouldn't let you live either. I can't let you live. So he's learning the lessons from his father. And again, his father is also a cold-hearted killer. So it just solidifies all of that. Now, are we going to see the cold-hearted killer Boba Fett in episode 7 of Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett?
Because they mentioned it, I believe so, yes.
Which I think is going to make a lot of diehard Boba Fett fans happy. Because that has been one of the complaints about this series. They're like, look, this is not the Boba Fett of my memories. This is not the Boba Fett from when I was a kid.
Of my head canon. This is not the Boba Fett of my head canon.
Well, I mean, if you think back to Empire Strikes Back, you get the whole, Darth Vader tells him, and no disintegrations,
Right.
And that's the way we all thought of Boba Fett, I've enjoyed him. I'm like, they're taking him in a new direction. I get it. It's fine. I don't.
Well, but he's transitioning from bounty hunter to family ruler.
Well, and I think that's also where this Super Commando code's going to come in too, because there was this brotherhood throughout the clones, and they all followed. And the reason there was the brotherhood is because they followed that Super Commando code.
Yeah, I like that.
So I think when Boba says that he wants to rule with respect, I think he's taking it back to that code. It's going to be like there is a code that we need to follow as, well, gangsters. Because that's what he's becoming, is a gangster. And what he's saying is there is no code there, and there needs to be a code, and we need to follow it. And that's where I kind of think they're going with this. So, yeah, I think we might see the cold-hearted killer at one point in episode 7. But I think it's going to end up going back to that code is where I think it'll end up going. So,
I like that. So episode 7, we're going to see him, cold-hearted killer. And then the whole ruling the family will be the whole code thing, the commando code.
Right.
I like it. Yeah, because we got a glimpse of it in Mandalorian when Boba Fett was in it, when he took out those stormtroopers.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that was a great scene, and
it was a fabulous scene.
Oh my, I just love the look on his face when he's bashing that stormtrooper in the head. That there is the cold-hearted killer Boba Fett. It really is. So I don't know.
Right.
Did
in the Tombstone, you brought down the thunder, kind of a thing,
Yeah. Well, I got vibes of when Cad Bane walks into the scene. I got vibes of I'm your Huckleberry.
Right. That was good.
Young Guns. I'm your Huckleberry.
That's Tombstone.
Yeah. Or was it? Yeah, you're right. Tombstone. Sorry.
Tombstone. Val Kilmer.
Yep, Val Kilmer.
I'm your Huckleberry.
I'm your Huckleberry. I love that line.
Yeah.
I absolutely love it.
Right.
It's one of my favorites. So, I guess in closing, Jango Fett really is the badass that they try to claim that he is in Attack of the Clones, but I don't think it
you just didn't see it.
Yeah, it just didn't get portrayed. And if you read this comic series, which I highly recommend, good luck finding it in print.
Right.
20 years old, and I think it's the aftermarket value is sky high on this thing.
Right.
So I highly recommend, if you got a Marvel comic subscription, reading it there, or go to Comixology. I got it for $8.50 on Comixology. So,
and that was all four in the series, all 4 comics in the series.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I prefer to have my physical comics over digital, but I don't know. There's some cool things about having the digital comic too. It's kind of fun. I love how you can double click on it and bring up one panel in your almost your full screen, and get a nice view of that beautiful artwork, and and then you just click the arrow and it goes to the next panel. That's kind of cool. I enjoy that, but I don't know. There's something about holding that physical comic in your hands, and even the paper, and even the smell of a comic book. It's the digital will never replace that
until they do NFTs with comics.
NFTs,
that non-fungible token, Bitcoin, or no, Ethereum.
You're still not going to get the smell of a comic book. It's not going to happen. And you're not going to get the feel of the pages. You're never going to get that.
That's true.
I'm
That's
sorry.
True.
You have to have a physical copy to do that. And they're not going to be able to reproduce those things digitally. Never. Ever. What are they going to put out a candle that smells like comic books, and then you light the candle as you're reading the digital? Is that how they're going to do it?
Yep.
Or they're going to put a sensor in your computer that sprays out a reproduced version of the comic book smell. Right. And I guarantee it still won't
Disney,
smell like it.
Yeah, that's like the Disney 4D movies that they do, where they have, the chair in front of you has a scent thing that shoots out scents and little fans to blow.
Oh my gosh, I remember, now we've been to Disney twice. The first time we went to Disney, when we went to Animal Kingdom, we went to see the Bugs Life 4D experience.
Yep. Right.
I hated that. Oh my gosh. I hated it because they have that one where you're supposed to be getting stung by bees, and these little things come out of the back of your seat and hit you in the back. These little wooden things. And it's like, oh gosh, I don't like that.
Right.
I told Brenda when we went this last time, I go, when we go to Animal Kingdom, I do not want to go on the Bugs Life thing. No, I refuse. Right. If you want to go, you can go by yourself. I'll wait for you. I am not going on that thing.
Right.
And she's like, yeah.
The rumor is, because I'm making up this rumor right now, is only those who have never done it before are the ones who go in there.
I highly believe that's true. Either that.
We did the Muppets one years ago. We did the Muppets 4D one, and that was fun.
The Muppets 4D is fantastic. I love that. Yeah. That is I highly recommend that.
Yep.
The only way Bugs Life could be any fun is if you're taking a newbie and doesn't know about it, and you want to watch them get hurt, and then you just move forward when that point comes up, and then you can laugh at your friend. Other than that, no. I think it's a horrible. You can't even attraction because it's not a ride. You're just sitting in a theater. So. Yep.
All right, well, coming back, Jango Fett. Everybody, he is one bad dude.
He's one bad. Shut your mouth.
And then, and so that explains a lot about Boba Fett and how we're excited about seeing what happens in the next episode of Boba Fett.
Oh, definitely. Can't wait. So,
yeah.
All right.
Okay. Well, hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for this special podcast edition, Star Wars Podcast Day episode, special edition, which will release on Tuesday,
February
7th,
right? Yeah, Tuesday.
Is it the 7th? That's Monday.
Is it? Wait a minute.
See, we'll get this out on the correct day. But for those who follow us on our live shows, thank you so much. And you get a kind of a special preview of that, but it'll hit our audio podcast on the release day.
It'll actually come out on Star Wars Podcast Day.
That's correct.
That's so funny. Oh, well. All right.
Oh, gosh.
All
right, Mike. Well, I'll leave it to you to close this out. Thanks so much, man.
All right. So with that said, happy Star Wars Podcast Day. Over and out, and may the Force be with you. Thank you for joining us today on the Two Geeks and a Microphone podcast. Tune in next week when we will have more news and reviews. Until then,